Welcome back. Let's finish up our conversation about GUT, the Grand Unified Theory of Negotiation, and now we're looking at the tactical side. So now it's time for us to turn our attention to the Lin matrix down here. And the Lin matrix is tactical. We put our final variables across the top, and we put our values across the left. Now remember, now we're talking about tactics. When we talk about Lin and we talk about styles, now we are interactive. Now we are not just talking with our own group, we're talking to the counterparty, and we're tailoring our message for the counterparty. And in negotiating, that's one of the big differences between strategy and tactics. So tactics is outward looking, and we're now concerned with how we're going to interact with the other side. We're going to start our scoping. We're going to start figuring out the size and the shape of our deal by quantifying, going back to our SMART goal system, and quantifying our specifics, our measurable, our metrics, and our time. If A and R, if actionable and realistic are still question marks, you've got to solve that and then make a decision. At this point, once we start dealing with the other side, we want actionable and we want realistic to be built in. Lin matrix is going to be the core of the agenda. And remember, agenda, as we define it, is variables plus process plus relationship. Here's where we are right now in this section of the tool. We are setting the headline titles to our columns. We're deciding what we are negotiating about, 3, 4, or 5 things. And this comes directly from here, but now we are refining it and we are adding some extra tools. So the variables here are going to come from 3 different processes that we've already done. The first is our strategic goal. We've already decided this is something we decided internally. This is our basic starting point. And to give you an idea, the big examples are money, power, timing, quantity, quality, that sort of thing. Big basic strategy concerns. And we may be refining our categories and our variables based on the other tools we've been using. And a good example of other things that may impact on our variable selection is our cross-culture analysis. So we did this with the Hofstede tool and with the AA matrix, the analyze and adjust. And one of the things that may result from this is that we see there are cultural gaps that require us to make big adjustments. And related to this is structural adjustment. I'm going with a big theme of the AA matrix, and one of the themes of this course is it's up to us as a negotiator to set variables that will make this deal self-reinforcing. We're paying the other side to want to see us win. We are going to create structural adjustments to cross-cultural gaps. And what I'm thinking here is things like ethics and compliance, where they don't follow the laws and you do. Power, where they want to run things and you want to run things as well. Honesty, where one of you is not honest and the other is. Quality, where you have certain quality levels and they are indifferent to that. And what you're usually doing here is paying people to exhibit the behaviors you need. So the variables here are, of course, the Lin's matrix. This is part of the Lin's matrix, but SMART goal setting, the specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, timed. Business environment analysis. We haven't done that too much here in the shortened version of the course, but if you do a SWOT analysis, if you do steeple, if you do Porter's 5 forces, and you come up with something interesting, it feeds in here in your variable selection. Stakeholder analysis is going to tell you what the priorities of the other side are. Hofstede's dimensions and the AA matrix are going to help you cross cultural gaps. And the 3 BATNAs, the 3 phases of BATNA tool are going to help you to define when you're walking away. Okay, once you set the top of that matrix, now we have to set the y-axis. And that is where the valuation comes in. So we're using a like, intermediate, and need, or best case, middle case, worst case, and we're deciding on not just the values, but the metrics. We're deciding on how these things get measured. And we're going to set metrics that favor us. On the chart, this is the part where we are scoring like, intermediate, need. Just fits in well with the mnemonic, but it could be best, intermediate, or worst. So the first thing to do when you're setting off on your, you want to start scoring your Lin matrix. The first thing you do is you look to see if there are objective benchmarks that are used in the industry or used by the other side, or that you want to use. So are there any objective benchmarks? And objective benchmarks mean an index or a price level that is public, it is widely accepted, and it can be checked by everyone. This is going to provide you with your I, your intermediate, your most likely. It should not be your L, and hopefully it's not your N. It shouldn't be your N. So the objective benchmark should be the I. So that tells you about the I. Now let's look at the N. And here's where we check our BATNA. The N, your N level, which I want you to set in advance, but there should be a reason for your N level. Set your N early and check it often. The BATNA analysis you did in the first half should reveal your N for certain variables, especially if it's money or other key variables. And then the third element of the Lin matrix is the L, is the opening offer. And this should be high, it should be aggressive, and there should be a reason for it. If there is an objective measure and the I is set, then your L is going to be determined by how much value you can add above the benchmark. There is no intermediate benchmark, and if you have a good position, then you have a high BATNA, and that means you can be very aggressive about your L. The better your alternative, the more ambitious you can be. So the tools here when it comes to scoring are SMART goal setting and the Lin matrix. And finally, we end up with style. And I want you to be a little bit counterintuitive when it comes to style, because I don't want you to start at the opening style. I want you to start with your ending style, the final style. This is the end of the story. And the end of the story for your negotiation is going to be your steady state equilibrium. If you are going to have a relationship, this is how the relationship is going to run. And if you don't have a relationship, this is how badly you've hurt the other side. So are you a partner, or are you going to be a player who just wants to transact? The final style is driven by your business model. This is not something you want to come up with on the fly. And that's the end style right there. The opening style, and this is pure tactics now, the opening style is your big move. This is your pitch that is going to set you up for the rest of the negotiation. You've crunched the numbers, you figured out the angles, you know where you want to be. You are now setting the stage for your big move. And your big move in a negotiation is your final concession. So when you open your mouth for the first time and you say, "Hi, it's great to meet you, I'm from company," what you're really doing is setting the stage for that final concession. Your opening style must be consistent with your final goal and the tactical map and the concession map that you're laying out. So that's where we see this on the map. The tools for your style journey from opening to close. First, your concession map maps out or your tactical map, whatever you're calling it, same thing, maps out how you're moving from your opening to your final deal. The list of tactics and the 5 categories will also be very helpful here. The AA matrix, the analyze and adjust matrix, is going to be extremely useful if you're dealing with someone from a different culture. Even if it's from the same country, you might have a different negotiating culture. And stakeholder mapping is going to help you understand the priorities and the values of the person that you're talking to. Okay, final word on this tool and on the course, really. First, stay in control of the agenda and you control the negotiation. If you can control the agenda, you control this deal. Deciding on variables and concessions is what gives you the competitive advantage. There are 2 times when you have the most power in negotiation. One is before you sit down, before you begin to negotiate, and finally is when you stand up. When you stand up, there's either going to be a deal or there's not going to be a deal. And that is largely up to you. Everything in between sitting down and standing up is just you making a series of concessions. So get used to that idea. Okay, thanks very much. I will talk to you again soon.